TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School Series, rolls into Sebring. The first return to Sebring International Raceway for SRO America teams and competitors since 2009. The championship picture is starting to come into focus with just 4 races remaining, and 3 classes are ready to do battle at one of the iconic motorsports venues in the entire planet. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane. We'll be hearing from her shortly. The formation laps about to begin here at Sebring. There will be 2 of them, 3 different classes ready to go: TCX, TC, and TCA. And championship implications all up and down this grid as we come into the stretch run of the season, Cal.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Certainly in the TCX class, Jacob Rude has really had things pretty much his own way. 8 wins of the 10 rounds so far. Could clinch the championship this afternoon, but he's got some stern competition in terms of the race win. But the other 2 classes, TC, TCA, everything is up for grabs there.
And for Jacob Rude, it's just a real accomplishment for the team to be on the grid for this race. He had a massive crash yesterday in turn 17. They had to get a new windshield for the car, significant repairs to the bodywork as well, but they got him out for qualifying, and he stuck the car on pole by a fairly wide margin, 0.4 of a second over Roy Block, and he will lead the field of 6 TCX cars to the green flag. Meanwhile, drama in qualifying in TC, where the points leader, Eric Powell, was not credited with turning a lap. He will start 19th out of the 20 cars, well, 19th overall, and second to last among the TC field. And importantly, his closest pursuer in points, Kevin Bohm, he is set to start on class pole.
Yeah, great opportunity for Kevin. He hasn't had the best of summers, and we come to another racetrack where temperatures will be a concern. He really felt that the performance of his Honda was being diminished somewhat when we ran in some really high temperature races this summer. So let's see what he can do today. The best place to be is out front in clean air. So he's got the pole. Let's see what he can do with it. Which
brings us back to the TCA field. Starting on pole, Carter Fartuch, who had misfortune in the final race of the weekend at Watkins Glen, but bounced back in a huge way. Starting on class pole, he'll have Devin Anderson starting alongside.
Yeah, he just had so much momentum. 3 wins on the bounce going into that second round at Watkins Glen. They had a technical issue, had to start from the back of the pack. Got involved in 0 point score, so that really allowed Caleb Bacon to bounce back and get a big advantage. But it's only 24.5 points, 25 points on hand here today, so this one is really tight. And the Hyundais don't look to be that strong on this racetrack, certainly in single lap pace anyway, because they roll off in 5th and 6th position for the Forbush Performance teammates.
And it's a big effort from the Skip Barber Racing School team. Carter Fartuch driving the car that Mike Stillwagon drove at Watkins Glen, because his car not fully repaired from the accident that ended his second race in upstate New York 2 weeks ago. Sebring International Raceway is an iconic venue, Calvin. 17 corners, a shade over 3.5 miles. That's just under 6 kilometers. And what an iconic circuit it is, with all the different bumps that you have to contend with, high-speed corners, low-speed corners. The only thing it really doesn't have is elevation change.
No, that's right. It's pretty flat with an airfield circuit, but certainly very challenging. It's all about respecting the bumps and getting the car set up. So many of the drivers in this field will be experiencing Sebring for the very first time, and it's an eye-opener. They've been testing here since Thursday, so they have had some track time to try and get these cars dialed in, but I think that's why we see the spread in the field. There's going to be a lot of cars out there will not like these massive bumps. You maybe don't have enough suspension adjustment to really deal with it. So we'll have to wait and see who can minimize the damage in terms of the championship picture and who can bounce back here today, literally and figuratively speaking, in the championship.
A great qualifying performance by Derek Jones in the TC field. He's in the TC Spec Mini, which is still very early in its development, and really had to be rebuilt after a major accident back at VIR. They've showed some good pace. The reliability has been a bit hit or miss, as you would expect. The car very much going through the teething process of a new car. And this track figures to be a real challenge in that perspective. For many, many years, manufacturers have come here to test their cars because of just how physically demanding on man and machine this racetrack is. So that'll be a real test, but some good pace at least through practice and qualifying for that Mini.
Yeah, and you'd have to think with that relatively short wheelbase, it would struggle through some of these long duration corners where you need a longer wheelbase to kind of let the car settle down. So I'm going to be having fun just watching one of those minis try and get through corners like turn 17 where the bumps are at its worst.
You see the starting grid up on the screen. Keep an eye out there for your favorite drivers. As you saw, Austin Smith and Eric Powell, two that have factored in for race wins and in championship contention for the bulk of the season. They make up the final row in the TC field. Have a lot of work ahead of them, especially when second place in points, Kevin Boehm. That car right there is out in front. But one thing to keep an eye on, especially the Hondas, but it does seem to be true throughout the TC field, the heat having an impact on these cars, especially as far as making power is concerned.
Well, that's why there's such a big delta in the starting position and then potential this afternoon for the championship contenders in TC. You got Kevin Boehm, who sits second in the points right now on the pole. The championship leader, Eric Powell, all the way back. He's got to fight his way through that traffic, and with that's going to come that dirty air, and that makes a huge difference in getting the cooling to these front radiator grills with ambient temperatures just touching 90 degrees right now on the racetrack.
Kevin told me that starting up front in clean air would be crucial to getting the result he's looking for here this weekend, and he was able to achieve that with class pole in qualifying. And I thought it was quite interesting. He was explaining why, at least on the surface, it seems like we've been talking about the heat issue on the Honda more so than some of the other cars. And he pointed out that the displacement of the engine is smaller than some of the other cars in the class, but the horsepower they produce is about the same. So the engine is having to work a little bit harder to create that power, and with that extra effort comes heat.
Yes, and so you don't have as much of a motor and capacity to work with. So the margins are a lot finer, and it's something that he's very much on top of. He's part of the R&D development for Honda, so he's got a keen engineering brain, and if he can't figure it out, you've got to feel that it's going to be a really tough order this afternoon with the heat that you get here at Sebring. Relatively late in the summer, temperatures are starting to cool off locally, but still very extreme here for this round of the championship season.
Also wanted to give a tip of the hat to Christian Pericarpi, who starts fourth in his pro racing debut. He's in the number 62 Mini that we've seen Clay Williams driving over the past couple of races. And Christian is the son of Louis Pericarpi, who owns LAP Motorsports based in Brownsburg, Indiana. Told me earlier this year there was some hope to get Christian in a race car at some point before the season was done. They got it done, and he starts fourth.
That's great. That is really, really cool. They got to be super pumped, and let's see how he deals with the race conditions now. So running a lap is one thing, as we talk about in racing, but then dealing with the pressure and the weight of maybe a podium run here this afternoon. See if he can pull it together. Coming
to take the green flag to start the first of two TC America races here this weekend at Sebring. The Lamborghini Urus has accelerated away. Field now under the control of Jacob Ruud, the pole sitter, who has dominated this class from the start of the season. Roy Block will start alongside. To the left of the screen, Steve Strymer and newcomer Garrett Adams in row 2, Stephen Cugliari and Olivia Askew in row 3 of the TCX field. Another great start from Ruud. Block drops back a little bit. He slots in second, and the pressure is coming from behind as we jump now to the TC field. They'll get their own start, as will TCA. Pole sitter Kevin Boehm looking to Tom Hansing for the green flag, and it flies down the front straightaway at Sebring. Good start from Boehm, and Jones slots in second in the TC Spec Mini. Yeah, everyone's spread out there as we now wait for the TCA field. So 3 classes running under the same guys here this afternoon. Let's see if everyone can keep it clean here on this opening lap. Carter Fartuch and Devin Anderson, Skip Barber Racing School and Tech Sport Racing making up the front row, but big move there from Pericarpi in that yellow and black Mini to the left of the screen. He was looking aggressive, now slows it down to get back in line and drops back a little bit. The gainers there were the 2 Forbush Performance Hyundais up a couple of spots. Yeah, big for them. They really need to make something happen here. They can't allow Carter Fartuch to really gain too many points on them here this afternoon. TC field into the hairpin for the first time. Kevin Boehm in the Honda ahead of the Mini of Jones. Now drop back, and that's Michael Sousa, who's been able to make up 1 spot around Mike Ogren for the final podium position in TC. Here comes Jones on the attack, looking around the outside of the pole sitter Boehm. And he's looking to the inside. This is the run down into turn 10 for the braking zone there.
Kevin takes it in really deep and actually gaps the Mini through the middle of the corner. So rolling big speed here. The Mini's dropping back suddenly. Does he have an issue? But I think he's got a power issue. I see the hazards coming on. Something amiss with the Mini. That's a shame for a car that qualified so strongly.
Heartbreak for Derek Jones. Started on the outside of the front row, but appeared to lose power rather suddenly and is dropping back in this TC field. That's great news for Bohm, who has clean air and no pressure behind. And the big mover, Michael Sousa, in the Hyundai, able to jump up into second. He's got the sister car right there with him, Jeff Rica, who got a great start. He was all the way back in the fourth row of the TC field. He's made up a ton of spots, and Mike Ogren right behind him.
Big battles ensuing here. This is coming on to the Ullman straight through turn 16. Look, the battle there. Rob Hines have a nice opening lap here in that yellow machine that you're looking at.
Rob told me earlier this weekend the car is good here, and he sweeps around the outside of Ogren there in the Nissan. This is Ogren's return to the championship for the first time in a number of years. His second cousin is a colleague of yours, Kevin Lee, the famed motorsports broadcaster. So racing very much in the family, and Mike, a veteran of club racing and has raced at the pro level as well, and got a great chance this weekend with the Skip Barber Racing School team.
Huge opening lap for Jeff Ricker. He's right up there in the mix. Look at these cars bounce through turn 17. That is a wild ride coming through there.
Yeah, this is the TCA field now with Carter Fartuch out in front. That's the TCA spec Honda, also from the Skip Barber Racing School team stable. And Caleb Bacon is right behind. That was the kind of start that Caleb needed with his championship picture starting to come into some clarity here late in the season. Fartuch had a great qualifying effort separating himself from Bacon, but Caleb has closed that gap here with a great opening lap.
It's a bit like Lewis Hamilton suddenly seeing Max Verstappen running second. It's like, how did that happen? Same thing here. Carter put the car on the pole, great opening lap, and suddenly he sees the championship leader right in his rearview mirror.
That's the sister car going wide right there, able to rejoin. Just lost some ground.
Luke Rumberg, who runs third in this championship. Good, decent points margin back, 57.5 points out of the lead, but anything can happen with 100 points still on the board in this championship season.
Bacon looking very strong, late on the brakes, was able to pull up alongside Fartuch, but the Pennsylvanian held him off for the moment. Devin Anderson runs third. That's the Tech Sport car that started on the outside of the front row, the Toyota, and right behind is Jose Blanco for VGMC. The fight rages on for the lead in TCA, but back to TC we go. And it looks like a BMW charging up through the field. That's Austin Smith, who started at the very back and has already carved his way up into second.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is a man who went on a tear in the middle of the season, got 3 wins in a row before a few issues at Watkins Glen.
Change of the lead overall, 2 on that last lap as Cugliari made the pass over Rude and led by 0.2 of a second at the line.
That's wild. So impressive at Road America, where he made his TCX debut. Could have won both days, but did win the second day, and we're looking forward to seeing him come back and have another stab at champion-elect, I'd like to call him, with the amount of points margin he has. Not sealed the deal yet, Jacob Rude, and certainly not disappointing. Didn't qualify that well, Cugliari, but looks like he's got the car to the front.
Rob Hines looking racy. As I said, he told me this is going to be a good track for this car. Ordinarily, he would have been racing at the SCCA runoffs. That was, of course, this weekend. It's going on right now in Indianapolis, and Rob is a longtime competitor there. He said it's a little bit tough not being there this weekend, but we had a chance to come race at another iconic racetrack here at Sebring. The car is very, very good, and he's got that on display. That Tech Sport team has hit on something with this Nissan, because he is piling the pressure on Jeff Rica.
He really is, and I don't think Eric Powell's having a great day trying to look for him on timing and scoring.
I'll keep an eye on that. While you do so, here is Hines peeking to the outside of Rica, who's wide on corner exit, leaving the hairpin. Will that open the door for the Nissan to come through?
What a great run Rob is having here in the early going. Nissan looking super strong here. As you see the 22 off and on. That's Anderson. We're showing from the lead in TCA.
Huh. Great qualifying effort. But off-track excursion will set him back. Rika trying to fend off Hines here. Hines has not been on the podium since the second race of the weekend in VIR. That was way back in June. Since then, finishes a 5th, 4th, not DNF at Watkins Glen 1, and then 6th in the second race there.
Powell is not showing on our timing and scoring, so not sure if he didn't make the green this afternoon. We'll have to look further in the field, but he's got a transponder issue. Do not see him being scored right now, which is huge in the championship. Came in here with a 35.5 point lead. With Boehm leading, that could be down at just over 10 points at the checkered flag here today.
Derek had rattled off 3 straight wins in the class to build that margin. And I asked him, hey, you feeling comfortable with that lead? And he said, no, I don't look at it that way. And I'll tell you, he's unfortunately proving to be a bit prophetic with those words, because it only takes one bad day and that margin completely evaporates.
Big battles up front in TCA. Anderson looking very strong here today. Bacon, who had that stunning opening lap, has now been dropped down to the 4th position in class.
This is a ways further down the order, though, after some kind of problem. We saw the off track there for Anderson. He lost quite a bit of ground and has fallen outside of the top 5, it would appear, in TCA. Side by side here.
It's Blanco in 2nd, side by side with the 2 Forbush teammates.
Rumberg and Bacon. Bacon on the inside. We're trying to go the long way around.
Paracopy probably learning a lot here in these opening laps. A little bit of debris flying there on the front straightaway. Didn't look too significant.
This is still side by side between the 2 teammates. They're not willing to give up that position easily.
Paracopy's Mini looks really strong. Good balance there going through turn 1. Blanco hanging on here as the Hyundai's coming back at him. Tires squealing there as Fartuch has gapped everyone by about a second here.
Jose Blanco, an open wheel refugee, was 2nd in F4 US 1 year ago and was thrown a opportunity by his countryman from Puerto Rico, Victor Gonzalez, to run for VGMC here, and has been pretty quick to adapt. Has a few podiums this year, still learning, and he's about to do a lot more learning with some pressure coming from behind. Bacon and Rumberg, among others. And at the moment, Blanco is that proverbial cork in the bottle. This is Luca Mars coming up through the field in this MX-5 Cup car from Copeland Motorsports, making his series debut. He's 6th in MX-5 Cup points coming into this weekend. They raced here earlier this year. He finished 7th in one of those races, a DNF in the other, and didn't qualify all that well, but it's looking racy here in the early going, Cal.
It really is. He's cutting through this field pretty quickly. That looks to be mega.
He has 1 podium in MX-5 Cup competition so far this year. And using that exact same car here, different tire.
Bacon just using that power and straightaway speed of the Hyundai to good effect. Just squeezing inside of Blanco before they get to Bishop Bend.
And that should be for 2nd in TCA.
Just wants to minimize the damage. Ricardo Fartuch up front, eating into that championship lead.
Whatever happened to Rude on that last lap, he has overcome it because he's back by Cugliari and now leads by 2.7 seconds. And in TC, Austin Smith has caught and passed Kevin Boehm and now has the lead there. This is the top 2 in TC. Smith in this blue BMW, Boehm in the gray and red Honda for DXDT Racing.
Wow. These races just keep switching up so quickly. In terms of change of positions, big change. I mean, Cugliari's last lap was 4 seconds off his best, so I'm not sure whether he had an off and Rude was able to take advantage of it, or whether Rude got a little bit rude in making the move.
Well, Austin Smith is up 11 positions from the start of this race. He's done that in about 11 minutes. That's a pass a lap. Or pass a minute, excuse me.
Well, certainly this BMW has shown a lot of strength this season, so when he gets it right, I wouldn't say he's unbeatable, but he's very, very strong.
He's been good year in a lot of respects for Austin Smith. Had 3 straight wins, 2 at VIR, then the first one at Road America, finished 3rd in the second race at Road America, and then struggled at Watkins Glen. DNF in race 1, finished 5th in race 2.
And I think for him, somewhat disappointingly, is that they were half point scores because the races were shortened with some incidents on both days. So if he'd got the full point score, it would have been another 25 points on the board and would have potentially thrown him right in the championship picture, particularly with Eric Powell. I understand he had some brake issues in qualifying. That's why he didn't see the grid here today.
And the word from Amanda is that they were not able to repair that car in time for the race. Here's Rob Hines making a move on Jeff Rica. Rica closes the door on him into Sunset Bend. That's a wild moment between these two. Quickly to wrap up the Eric Powell story, though, that really hurts. But the good news for him is that his closest pursuer in points, Kevin Bone, just lost the lead to Austin Smith, so that's a little bit less damage done.
Yep. And the key is going to be getting back tomorrow. He can't afford to have another 0-point score, so they'll be working hard to try and get that car back in ship shape for tomorrow's race. This is a great battle going on here, and I love some of these cameras on the corners picking up how they're pushing these tires around this racetrack, literally torturing them, looking for grip here.
To point out, too, that whatever was wrong with the TC Mini of Jones earlier in the race, it seems to have resolved itself, because Jones now is up to 5th in class, just made a pass on Sousa for
Fast
that
lap
spot.
times too.
Here's the spin. This is one of the Garagistic cars.
Ibrahim, I believe.
Yes, Matthew Ibrahim, who made his pro racing debut at VIR, finished 6th and 8th in a couple of races there. Here's a replay, and this is what happened to Matt. Round he goes.
Yeah. Just a lazy spin, just asking a bit too much from the rear tires there.
Now, he doesn't have a whole lot of racing experience to fall back on. This has been a learning season for him, but he's shown good pace at times and really fun personality as well. Always got a big smile on his face. You can see some of that personality in the paint schemes on those Garagistic cars. Side by side we go here. Pericarpi and Rumberg. And right behind, I think that's PJ Gronke getting into the mix as well.
PJ having a nice run here today. Good to see. Pericarpi, what a learning curve for him here, being in among some of the championship regulars.
Just graduated from high school back in the spring. Lewis, his father and the team principal, was not at VIR, which was a difficult weekend, I think it's safe to say, for the team. A couple of big accidents, including the one to the TC car. Lewis was there for graduation for his son Christian. Now both Pericarpis at the track, one on the pit stand, one behind the wheel, and Christian, the youngster, in his first pro race, looking very, very confident.
And Mars has distanced himself a little bit from that pack as they fight and squabble with each other. That's the difficulty, is really thinking of the big picture. I mean, you want to get every position you can, but if you're slowing yourself down a second or two per lap, it's allowing the rest of the leaders to escape a little bit.
This is 5th and 6th in TCA. PJ Gronke right behind, runs in 7th. Mike Lamara has moved up. Actually, a bunch of drivers had moved up after the spin from Ibrahim just a little while ago. Promoted Lamara, Valdez, Capizzi, and Ogren. 1 position each.
So Frika there running in the 3rd position. Smith and Bohm a little way down the road, about 5-second gap back to this battle for 3rd position, with Hines thinking he'd love to stand on that podium at the end of the afternoon.
Yeah, this has been a great duel for a while. The veteran Jeff Frika, he's been in Hyundai equipment for so long. This TC spec car is something that he and his Gin Racer program have been developing over a few years, and they are the distributor for this car. Rob Hines, a veteran of club racing, he's had some success at the runoffs in the past. He's made some pro racing starts, and it's been a good season for him. Solid, always in the picture, it seems like, for a top 5, and right now battling for a podium.
Good little battle, great opening lap, and continues to keep the pressure on. This races for the lead. Caleb Bacon has suddenly got back with our leader, so Bacon and Anderson has shown the pace to maybe run down Carter Fartuch, and looked like he was in nice control there, and suddenly they're back with him.
Anderson looking very strong. He appears to have a run now on Caleb Bacon. And don't forget about Luca Mars making his first start in this series. He's lurking, making some progress in that MX-5 Cup car. Right there.
Yeah, he is, and I think the reason that Bacon is able to catch Carter Fartuch is showcased by his fastest lap. He's about 1.4 seconds quicker on his best lap over Carter, so he's got the speed. He's just been fighting it out, and keeps kind of a concertina effect with that leader right now.
Point out, we've had another change for the overall lead. Stephen Cugliari is back by Jacob Rude and leads by half a second. Roy Block is 6 seconds behind. And then Garrett Adams, 19-year-old Floridian, making his series debut. He runs in fourth, ahead of Steve Strymer and Olivia Askew. That's the TCX field 1 through 6. Then we go to the TC field with Austin Smith leading the way over Bohm and Rika. Now the TCA battle. And this is crucial for Carter because Carter Fartuch needs to keep ahead of Bacon to stay in the championship picture. Can't afford to lose ground with just a handful of races left in the season.
So, you know, they compare here down the Ullman Straight. It's a bit of a dyno run to see who's got the pace and the aerodynamics to have the straightaway speed. Here comes Bacon inching up on that Honda inch by inch.
Pericarpi was thinking about making a move to the inside of Rumberg for 5th in class. This is the overall leader now, catching the back of the, well, really the mid-pack of the TCA field. Cugliari, who has come back through around Jacob Rude and retaken the lead that he held briefly earlier in the race.
Really impressive lap times. Fast lap by Cugliari, a 2:19.5 compares to a 2:20.4 best for Rude. So, and he's doing it consistently. Really consistent lap time. Just ran 3 laps in the 2:19 barrier. So he has got the pace. Didn't showcase it in qualifying, but we saw at Road America. Jacob Rude, champion-elect, has certainly got a battle on his hands here if he wants to extend that amount of wins that he's got so far this season at 8.
Cugliari only has the 2 starts in this series on his resume, both at Road America, 3rd and 1st in those 2, and that win snapped Jacob Rude's win streak. He won every race in the history of this class, which debuted back at Sonoma at the start of the season, and has only been denied twice on the season. But Cugliari, in his return, is back at the front. And now it's going to be a question of how these 2 cars deal with lap traffic. Neither of these drivers have extensive experience to draw upon, and they're going to be coming across some drivers in the midst of class battles of their own, and how they negotiate that traffic could make all the difference.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. I mean, they have a significant advantage in terms of raw pace over this TCA field by about 13, 14 seconds a lap, so they should cut through it pretty effectively, probably about 100 horsepower more as well on tap, but you've still got to make the right moves and the right decisions with everyone in the thick of their own battle.
Worked around Pericarpi, now around Rumberg and Mars, taking a peek to the inside of the 14 car. Is that Fartuch? Did he lose the top 2 positions?
Yeah,
I think so
back
too.
To 3rd.
Yeah, so that is Bacon through, that is Anderson through. They're now 1-2 in TCA, and splitting them from the erstwhile leader is Cugliari, the overall race leader. And all of a sudden, Fartuch finds himself under pressure from Luca Mars.
Yeah, he's fighting to stay on a podium run right here, maybe even top 5, because Rumberg's not that far behind as well.
What a topsy-turvy race this has been, and we're just past the halfway mark. So much has changed. The ebb and flow has been remarkable in just 21 minutes.
So Cugliari's done a nice job here of clearing this batch of traffic. He should have pretty open sailing here for a while, because that's the TCA field that he's got through, and the TC field is some ways down the road, about quarter of a lap ahead. So he can now set sail a little bit and just hit his marks and try and execute his lap times.
dust to drive through there. Someone went wide at the exit of turn 1. You can see all of the torn up grass there, and that tells you that whoever did that was by no means the first to do so this weekend.
Fartuch been dropped another position. Rumberg now up to 3rd.
Luca Mars next in line in the Copeland Racing MX-5 Cup car. Sounds like we have an update from the pit lane. Let's head down and welcome into the broadcast Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, and we're hanging out over at the Mini team, and there was a little issue going on with Derek Jones earlier, a drivability issue. How do you approach that, and what issues might you be facing now?
I mean, it's part of the development of the race car, and you know, we've been dealing with it all weekend long, the last couple of races. It's getting better every time, you know, so it's just something we knew it was a challenge, and he's trying to make his way back up in the field now.
Reset at the ECU there, and now the car's getting back in the groove, but another big weekend for you here. Your son is racing. What's it like watching this debut for him?
Yeah, it's difficult because, you know, he's been dreaming to do this all the time. So today, we didn't know if he was going to race. It's the first time in a real race car, first time wheel to wheel. He's doing a great job. Super excited for him.
A very proud papa.
Louis Paracarpi is a racer through and through. As you see Jones in the TC Mini off track just a little bit, that's going to bring Tom Capizzi into the picture. That's the orange BMW right there in the center of the screen. Jones going defensive into the brake zone. Capizzi around the outside. He's fresh off of a run earlier today in Pirelli GT4 America competition. Looks like he's able to make that pass work.
He does. Yeah, the performance of the Mini is pretty inconsistent with some of the issues they're having technically, but getting back to Louis Paracarpi, you could tell in his voice the emotion of watching his son compete for the very first time at this level is a pretty special day for the whole family, I'm sure.
Well, I was going to say, he's been involved with the Mini program for a long time. The team operates LA Honda World as well. They tend to field cars at the Indianapolis 500, or at least help to crew them for teams that expand to run second cars, as we see mixed class racing at its finest there, storming into turn 1.
Oh, that's tight there between the two leaders in TCA. Anderson to the outside. Bacon doesn't want to give it up. Roy Block down to the inside. This is going to be awfully tight. He wisely gives it up, otherwise there was going to be contact there between the two classes.
Block had just lost 3rd position in TCX a little bit earlier to Garrett Adams, who's coming through the screen. He was the TCX car that made it 3 wide into turn 1. Here comes Block in the black BMW, now running 4th in TCX. And that's a scary moment there when you're fighting for your class lead and you've got one of the podium contenders in another class coming through, embroiled in a battle of his own.
Anderson doing a really good job here. His car looks strong, so let's see if now he's escaped Bacon's attention a little bit, if he can lay down some laps here and maybe gap the competition. But it's been such a seesaw battle here today. Never seen nothing like it.
Devin Anderson, we've only seen him once this season. He was at Road America. Didn't participate in the first race of the weekend. Finished 5th, though, in the second one. And this Tech Sport Racing car is looking very strong. This is the car that sometimes we've seen Jesse Love driving throughout the course of the year. His schedule predicated on what he's doing in the ARCA series this year. So that's opened up some opportunities for others to drive, and Devin Anderson looking very strong. He's got that position now. Bacon, though, breathing down his neck, and Rumberg running right behind as well.
Bacon will not give anything up, even to faster class cars. Just making everyone work for it. He wants to keep the pressure on the leader here, because he's now got his teammate right back with him. So Rumberg is, oh, that's a spin.
Oh, right in front of the leaders, too, in TCA.
You could hear that one happening up in front. So Strymer cleared that traffic and just carried too much speed into turn 16. Quick loop. Now we see Bacon with a big run on Anderson again here down the Ullman Straight.
And Olivia Askew in the TCX BMW will be coming through at the same time. Rumberg's going to try and follow her through around the outside. Olivia hanging on the outside there of 2nd place in TCA. Caleb Bacon challenging Devin Anderson for the lead out of Sunset Bend.
Those TCA cars can really roll some mid-corner speed here, can't they?
It's all about keeping the momentum up in the lowest horsepower class in the SRO America paddock. But the The racing is as tight as can be. Here comes Rumberg up the inside of his teammate. Thought about making it 3 wide. Bacon leading on Anderson at corner exit, and somehow they stay straight, leaving the corner.
Little touch there, then he relieved the pressure, literally, in terms of the pressure on the passenger door. The driver's door, should I say, as Anderson is now up and all over the curves. Rumberg to the inside. Whoa. Anderson's had a rough couple of corners there.
Forced wide, that's going to be costly. Fartuch comes back through to take that spot back. Here comes Luca Mars as well.
Big run.
Yep, around the outside, and Christian Pericarpi might have a play at this position too before it's all said and done.
And I think that was all just good, hard racing. I don't see the stewards getting involved in that one because everyone was given as good as they got. So just time to dust himself off, literally, and just go chase him back down again. He's had the pace.
Shuffled back to 5th. Challenge for that spot now. Pericarpi attacking on the Toyota of Anderson, which has just been beset by challengers from the start of this lap. Really going back to the last lap, it's been tough sledding for the Tech Sport Racing driver, but settling back into a rhythm now, and we know this class has been topsy-turvy. They can certainly get passes done.
I don't think he got any damage from those couple of bumps and that minor off, so if his car is healthy, he's still got a few minutes on the board here to play with and try and chase back down these leaders. There's some fast cars to get through, and Bacon seems really determined up front, even though his teammates giving him a hard time.
That's interesting, and an interesting dynamic there for the Forbush Performance team to try and deal with between those two. Bacon, the better placed in the championship, he could really use a win to help solidify that spot, especially since Fartuch's not having the best of days, although it got a little bit better there with the problems for Anderson. Let's take a look at this replay of how turn 1 played out.
It's going to get tight. I mean, Bacon's carrying huge speed, so he needs that amount of radius. Just a little rub there, and then they get down into the brake zone for Christensen corner. Anderson takes it in a little bit deep. He's now not got the grip on the outside. A little bit of a slide, then up and over the curb, and then Rumberg just stuffs it down the inside. He leans on him. Not super aggressive, just, I mean, that's the way these cars are going to race here.
Just 10 minutes remaining in the first TC America race of the weekend. I'm excited that we get to do this again for 40 minutes tomorrow based on what we've seen here. And we got some class racing going on again with BMW starting to side through the TCA field. That's the recovering Steve Strymer who had that spin just a few moments ago.
Fartuch's back up to 3rd. It's crazy as Anderson's off the road again in turn 5.
I think that's going to allow Mars back around. I think Anderson had taken it away, or maybe was trying to do so, and now Pericarpi enters into the mix in the black and yellow Mini to the right of the screen. Anderson on the inside, Pericarpi on the outside, and Christian can't get up alongside close enough to hold that position through the hairpin, now settles back in line.
This is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Class is led by the 2 Hyundais of Bacon and Rumberg. Fartuch has recovered nicely back up to the 3rd position. Can he pull a rabbit out of his hat in the last 10 minutes here and try and get some points back?
Not over yet. Pericarpi to the inside of Anderson. Anderson able to make the outside line work, carried enough speed to stay clear of the Mini and holds on to that 5th spot for the moment.
Tower corner, you can just hear those front tires being leaned on big time through there.
By the way, Olivia Askew on that last lap has caught and passed Roy Block, so you can move her up into the 4th spot. Garrett Adams in his debut in the series, local youngster, 19 years old.
3rd.
Yeah, in position to be on the podium in his first pro race. He's done quite a bit of testing here at Sebring. This is a home track for him. Also has tested with Classic BMW in Texas in preparation for this start. And Toby Grahovic, who oversees that operation, told me he thinks this is a kid who's got some speed and some potential. Fight is on here for position in TC with Jeff Rica trying to fend off Tom Capizzi. This is for 4th.
Yeah, great little battle going on. So Hines has got that final podium position. in his hands right now. Smith leads by now some 10 seconds over Kevin Boehm. So once Smith got to the front, he just took off. But this is a great battle here through the Le Mans corner, setting up for the Ullman Straight. They're over slowing each other here right now. These lap times are not going to be great. It's just a battle between the two.
And TCA car to deal with as well. Looks like Capizzi made the move stick, at least for the moment, but sitting there in the slipstream is Jeff Rica. A lot of experience behind the wheel for Jeff. Feints right, comes back to the left-hand side of the screen. On the brakes here for turn 17 and tries to sling it up the inside.
Just not enough room there. There's about car width, but as you bounce across the road, you're going to make contact if you force the issue there. So you have to respect that. And that's what's so tricky when you're going side by side through that corner. You may want to hold a certain line, but suddenly the bumps are going to take over and throw you out wide.
Kevin Boehm, crucially, still runs second in this class. Rob Hines has been making some inroads in recent laps, but still has 7 seconds to overcome in terms of the gap in the fight for second in TC. And while it's not a perfect day for Kevin, a win would have been ideal, given the fact that his the guy he's chasing in the championship, Eric Powell, is not racing today with a mechanical issue that could not be repaired in time. Still second place when the guy you're chasing won't score any. That's a good day.
It's a big swing.
Given the run of form recently from Eric Powell, he had won 3 straight coming into this race week. Had Pericarpi going off track. This is a family that loves its rally racing. They're going back to their roots a little bit there.
Yep. He'll have a big smile on his face. He certainly learned a lot here today. But up front, didn't expect this after the qualifying sheets to see these Hyundais running 1-2.
Impressive stuff, considering they did not have the pace in qualifying, and I'm not sure exactly what the story is there, but...
Is there a problem for Bacon? See him weaving around there a little bit, coming down this straightaway, and I thought I saw some smoke coming through turn 16, so I'm not sure if he's feeling something amiss, or maybe some tire pressure on one of the front tires.
Report there might have been a tire rub on the left front, yes. That's troubling.
Well, they've certainly been bashing and banging each other. So it was the right front where they hit he and Anderson, right, coming out of turn 1 that lap. It was on his right side, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there is some damage to the right side of the car, but it looks like it's the left side that we're seeing that smoke come from. And tell you what, Anderson got shuffled back, but he's back into the picture now. He is up to third and putting the pressure on Bacon as Rumberg has gone through to the lead. And Carter Fartuch is fourth. It's not been the best of days for him, but he's not out of the picture either.
Well, significant is the fact that Bacon has a serious issue with this tire. His teammates taking off a little bit, so this could be huge for Carter Fartuch. We saw him have problems at the last round at the Glen. Devastating in the points. Yeah, he's got an issue.
Big
got a
time.
tire going down. He's lost cross weight in the car when he hit the brakes there. We believe it is anyway, so he runs wide, drops several positions. Huge championship implications there.
That's because that's the TCA championship leader in strife, and it lets Carter Fartuch back through. The good news for Bacon is he will have achieved the distance needed to score some points, assuming he can finish high enough in the order to do so. Points are paid down to 10th. And we'll keep an eye on that. But now Fartuch,
There he is.
needs to hold on to the position he is in the hopes of trying to stay ahead. Let's keep a close eye on this car if we can.
Something happened on the previous lap as you come up through this high-speed section through Bishop and into Le Mans. Suddenly, as he came out of the Ullman Straight, I saw some smoke, and then he started to weave around a little bit, just trying to feel the car out. He felt something not quite right and was trying to identify what it was before he got to the next brake zone.
To update you on the other classes, Cugliari leads from Rude by 4 seconds, and they have a big gap over debutant Garrett Adams, who runs third in TC. The podium as they run, Smith, Boehm, and Hines. And here we are at the TCA battle. Luke Rumberg is now leading thanks to the issues for the team car of Caleb Bacon. Bacon is dropped back now behind Anderson, behind Fartuch, behind Mars, and I think behind Pericarpi as well. Yes, indeed. This is a costly lap for the championship leader with just 3.5 minutes to go to nurse that problem to the finish.
Yeah, the key is going to be how much ground does Bacon lose? Can he keep the car on the racetrack to the checkered flag without hitting pit lane? I think he may have slowed. I think I may have seen in the background him maybe head him for the pits.
It would be heartbreaking for him, and I tell you, the swings of momentum within this championship have been wild. This race is a microcosm of it, but all season long, we've seen stretches where Fartuch has had the edge. We've seen stretches where Bacon has had the edge, and then you've had some interlopers in the mix. Rumberg certainly has been one of them. Definitely off the pace.
Yeah, he just slowed to the right-hand side of the road. I thought he was ducking into the pit lane, but he's probably thought about it, and the team has said, just soldier on. There's not enough time on the board to really come in. You're going to lose about 40 seconds come down pit lane, plus the time to maybe switch your tire out or identify the technical issue.
And now this scenario here, Carter Fartuch will be defending for his life because every position he can hang on to is points gained relative to Bacon, who's had that problem. But behind him are two guys who don't have to think about the championship at all. They're in their first ever race in this class. And here comes Pericarpi looking to the outside of Luca Mars.
Yeah, both those young drivers are looking for their first podium, not only their first start, but their first podium. And they can see it. They can smell it right now if they can get around Carter Fartuch.
Well, Carter was really stout in his defense if you go back to a couple of those races, I think at Road America, where he had the lead but had to fight to hang on to it. And he's going to be channeling that experience here with less than 2 minutes to go. They'll be coming around to take the white flag, I believe, this next time by. He's fighting for all he's worth to hang on to the final step of the podium to keep the championship in reach.
Yeah, he's got to dig deep here. He's got to somehow scramble and claw to maintain this podium run. A little bit slow there coming through 16. That's going to give Mars the run.
And battle for the lead is on too. We see the Luke Rumberg car weaving back and forth to break the tow as Anderson tries to reel him in. Maybe a little bump draft here between the Mini and the Miata. Meanwhile, you've got a TC car coming through. That's, I think, the leader, Austin Smith. Mars makes the pass. That's for the final podium position, but Fartuch trying to come back through Sunset Bend.
Yeah, really tucked it in tight there through the apex and almost made it stick. Now he's got to run down this front straightaway.
1 lap to go at Sebring. Championship implications on the line here. Smith able to come through. Fartuch with a great run out of the final quarter. He'll be side by side with the MX-5 Cup car.
Ooh, this is going to be tight. It's going to give Pericarpi the run.
Yes, it will. Oh, and Fartuch cannot afford to give that spot up. He might not have a choice. Christian Pericarpi gets it done.
Really nice drive in there. Didn't overcommit. He would have got into the Mazda if he went a little bit deeper there. So just threaded the needle and slotted back in nicely.
And it looked like the battle was joined for the lead in the class just ahead. Here it is. Luke Rumberg still holding on. Devin Anderson looking for his first win. Here we go to the checkered flag. And for the second time this season, Stephen Cugliari wins in TCX. Jacob Rude will come home second overall. Back to TCA, though. This has been gripping all race long. So many different protagonists have entered the frame at one point or another. Right now, the fight is Rumberg versus Anderson. First and second in TCA with the TC leader, Austin Smith, right behind them.
It's an outside shot, but Rumberg's got to do everything he can to try and maximize the point score here today and cut into his teammates' championship lead. A long way to go. 3 more rounds at the end of this day. Anything can still happen in the championship.
After this race, just 75 points total maximum left on offer to settle the championship across 3 remaining races. This one's not done yet, though. Still, Luke Rumberg out in front. Devin Anderson right behind, and Austin Smith waiting in the wings. That is the TC leader. I wonder how he will view this. Does he know These are cars fighting for their own class win up ahead of him, and will he stay out of it or will he just try to clear it? We shall see as Rumberg forced to go defensive, and Smith is going to take the outside line and try and power past. Last chance to dance here for Devin Anderson around the outside of Rumberg here through Sunset Corner. Drag race to the line. Can the crossover work? Rumberg to the outside, Anderson to the inside, and the win in TCA goes to Rumberg. Hand out the window, slapping the roof. That keeps him in the championship mix. Austin Smith just ahead of them takes the win in TC.
Pericarpi grabs that final podium spot on debut. What a run for the Mini. There'll be some excitement in that camp here tonight.
I expect that will be a wonderful celebration. Big thumbs up out the window from Luke Rumberg to Devin Anderson.
Hearing that smoke from Caleb Bacon, our championship leader, was a stuck brake caliper. We thought it was a tire issue. It was actually a braking issue. Devastating blow for him, who's having such a strong day.
Yes, he drops way down the order, but softening the blow is the fact that on that last lap, or the last 2 laps, Carter Fartuch dropped 2 positions, ultimately brings it home in 5th. Still a decent points day for Carter. That will help, but it could have been a lot different, especially when you consider he started on pole today.
Yeah, no, that's huge. What a seesaw battle we saw all day long in all 3 classes. It was just such a mix-up of cars going backwards and forwards. I believe that Bacon may have got a single point. I think he was classified 10th in class.
That would be the final points-paying position. And that's in part because there were 11 cars in the class. Jose Blanco, who was a factor early in the race, had some kind of a problem that took him out of contention. He's classified at the back of the field. Same can be said for PJ Gronke, actually. And
Fartuch was 5th, so not as bad a day as it could have been for Caleb Bacon, our championship leader, his closest pursuer. Gained a bundle of points, but not as many as it could have been with his technical issue.
Right. Wow, what a race. We were focused on the TCA battle, but the TCX lead swapped hands a couple of times. The drive from the back of the field, literally last in class, is where Austin Smith started. And he was up 11 spots in 11 minutes to take the lead. And he wins TC, and Kevin Bohm in 2nd. Pretty darn good day for him from a points perspective. That has him right back in the mix for the title.
Yeah, it's really tightened things up, and the real key is going to be whether Eric Powell gets his car back to start tomorrow's race. Otherwise, we'll go to Indy potentially with a new championship leader.
Wow, still a lot to play for in the TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School season. Really, the one championship that is effectively wrapped up is Jacob Rude in TCX. But that has more to do with the fact that he's run all the races and won so much than anything else. It's kind of been a revolving door of competition for him. But Stephen Cugliari is a name to keep an eye on. He impressed on debut at Road America, backs it up again with yet another win, his 2nd in just 3 races this year.
He's the real deal. And what a season we could have seen if he'd done more championship rounds, but should have whetted his appetite to come back for more next season, we hope.
Tough day as well for Mike Ogren, who finishes way down the order after a great qualifying effort that had him start 3rd in TC at one of the Skip Barber Racing School cars. Something apparently went wrong for him, and he'll look to rebound tomorrow. Should look at lap times for this race, because the grid for race 2 tomorrow is set by fastest lap of the race, and Cugliari will have the pole overall with a 2:19.5 as a best lap, and a couple others we'll keep an eye on. Looks like Austin Smith quickest in TC. As we look at the highlights from the race, it was Jacob Rude in his repaired car after a crash yesterday that jumped to the lead. He wouldn't hold it forever, however, and we'll talk about that in a moment. The 3 respective starts, TCX, TC, and TCA. Great fight here as Rob Hines made a great drive through the field. This was him battling with Jeff Rica.
Yeah, a little bit of a slide there. He just controls it nicely, but it was a seesaw battle all day long, and then you had that mix-up with some of the faster class cars cutting through the field. Is Cugliari making some big moves here after he bounced back and got the lead back from Jacob Rude?
That spice things up for sure. And then this, 8 wheels better than 4. That was the theory, at least, for Caleb Bacon fighting there with Devin Anderson. Got the spot, but then the brake issues took him out of the equation. That scary moment, bouncing over the curbs, and a little bit more rubbing his racing here. Looked like it might have taken Anderson out of the picture entirely, but boy, how quickly things can change.
He just kept digging and ended up on the podium at the end of the day, and Caleb Bacon's day got worse, obviously. Mars had a really strong run, just finished off the podium in that 4th position as Pericarpi made some brilliant moves at the end of this race.
And he did. Mars in the MX-5, Pericarpi in the Mini, both of them able to get around the Carter Fartuch car, and that has championship implications as we have chronicled, but the wins go to Cugliari, they go to Smith, and to Rumberg, the 3 winners in their respective classes. Let's start hearing from them now with Amanda.
Well, Stephen Cugliari in 3 races now is the owner of 2 wins. This TCX format, how have you taken to it so quickly?
It's just a really great car. BMW put together a really great platform for us. I've really got 0 complaints with it. It's very easy to get in there and get going and get up to speed pretty quickly.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
It's effectively back-to-back wins for Stephen when you factor in that he has not raced since his last win, which was race 2 at Road America. Finished 3rd in his debut the day before. Now 3 podiums and 2 wins in 3 races. I think that might be a name to keep an eye on in this new accelerating performance team. We expect big things. That's one of several teams we expect to see on a more regular basis next year.
Yeah, I hope to see him at Indy too. Great to see him at the championship finale. Ruud will have the championship pretty much locked down, but certainly these race wins are not coming easy in the second half of the season for him.
Back down to Amanda in the pit lane.
Well, you talk about those bouncing back and the performance needed by Jacob Ruud here in the last half of the season. You can even see the damage from the BMW of them putting this car back together. Jacob, you are the 2021 champion here in the TCX class. You only had 9 runs on this track before you started this race. When you talk about bouncing back into race mode, how do you do it?
You know, we come into these weekends prepared to fight for a victory every single race, and no matter what that means for me, for the team in terms of preparation, we always seem to get it done. And I just feel like I'm in the mindset of, okay, I need to be competitive, but you know, I'm not fighting for every single win. We just need to go out there and get the car back in one piece, because it's barely in one piece as it is. So I think it's just a matter of staying sharp and trying to keep focus forward no matter what the status is. So.
You're TCX champion, Jacob Ruud.
Thank you very much.
It was a huge bounce back for him. The crash he had earlier in the weekend on Thursday was huge. He showed me the onboard video, and it was absolutely massive into the tire barrier in Sunset Bend. And it was just a mistake. He owned it. I made a little mistake, got out wide, hit a bump, he said, and straight into the tires. And they had a lot of work to do, including calling the local Safe Light to replace the windshield. One of a couple of calls for Safe Light to the racetrack here this weekend, by all accounts. Let's go back to Victory Lane, and Amanda is standing by with Austin Smith.
Well, it was a flat tire in qualifying why Austin started at the back of the grid in the TC class. And Austin, you're going to, I'm sure, look back on the video of this drive for yourself. What would you say is what allowed you to perform here today?
I honestly don't know. Like, I'm speechless. Like, that was insane. Like, top to bottom, that was an incredible drive. Like, it was just, we got a really, really good start, and then we just, like, kept our head down, and I was like, I had no idea where I was, like, the first lap or two, and then I saw the pole sitter, like, you know, 100 yards or so, and I was like, dang, I think we got this. And just put my head down. I mean, we made our way through the field cleanly, and I have to put my hats off to this Auto Technic team. I mean, they are, like, on it every single time the car comes in. They're fixing it, getting it ready for the next session. I mean, we had a flat tire. We drove it right in for qualifying, got a red flag, unfortunately. So we didn't get a time, but man, these guys are awesome. They're on it. Thanks to everybody involved, my wife, my parents, Upstream Engineering sponsors. It's awesome.
From 12th to 1st, Austin Smith will take the top step of the podium.
And again, made all those passes in just 11 minutes. It was remarkable. I hope he had an onboard camera recording all of that. That would be 11 fun minutes of footage.
He's tough to beat when it all clicks together for him. So 4 wins on the year now and 3 rounds to go. lots to play for.
Yeah, definitely. Came in third in points, and with problems for the points leader, Eric Powell, who did not get to compete here today. We hope to see him tomorrow. Certainly so. That's the plan, at least, but that keeps him in the mix, that's for sure.
Yeah, and as we said before in the show, if he hadn't got half-point scores, if he got full points, it'd be a lot closer. He would have gained 25, but some of the other competitors would have gained points as well if we'd scored full points at both rounds at VIR.
Well, one more winner still to talk to today, and Luke Rumberg is with Amanda.
And guys, it's definitely hard not to smile next to someone that has a smile as big as Luke does. When I got over here, still celebrating with your team and this win for yourself. When you look back at what you were able to pull off here today, what was the key in this victory?
The key today was just being able to stay calm, stay focused. We fell back a little bit, but just keep your head in there, don't get frustrated. And I kept moving on with my CMR, 4-bush performance Hyundai, and we just kept on digging. And, you know, we couldn't ask for anything better because we had a hell of a fight, and it was just an awesome win. It was a well-deserved win, I feel like, and congrats to the other guys. They did a heck of a job out there, and they were just really battling hard, and I can't stop smiling now because it's an awesome feeling to win this race.
I have a feeling this win's going to be celebrated hard.
Second win on the year for Luke. Won race 2 of the weekend at VIR and has finished second 3 straight races coming into this one. So to snap that streak of seconds and get the win, that helps to explain that giant smile.
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating keep finishing in that runner-up spot, but consistent points, and he's still in the championship fight. Long way to go, 3 rounds, big points still on the board.
It helps the cause to win, that's for sure. Fun race today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow for race 2 of the weekend here at Sebring. We'll talk to you then.